2024 Big Picture Film Festival. How's everybody doing tonight? What a turnout. What a turnout. Packed house. Looks like the set of friends over there. Got the comfy couches. Just a show of hands, who's from the greater Peoria area here? So a large majority of people. Okay, drop those. Who's from out of town? Okay, now, where are you from? Forest Park. Is that Chicago? We call it, is that a Chicago suburb? Okay. Who else? Anyone else from out of town? Me? Chicago? We'll wait till we get to her. She's very impressive. Okay, so that's... okay, so I'm Blake Wirth, your host this evening, and I am very, very excited to be here tonight. I was a part of this festival several years back. It's back better than ever now. We've got 2 nights, 3 events down in the front here. Okay. So tonight we start with the panel discussion. We've got 3 very talented filmmakers here. We're going to ask a few questions too. We're showing 8 short films tonight. They're all under 10 minutes. The last one's about 20 minutes, I was told, but it's worth it. Okay. And then tomorrow, of course, we're doing the student film showcase at the Peoria Riverfront Museum. We have any student filmmakers in the house tonight? Any emerging filmmakers here? No, they're resting up. They're getting ready for tomorrow night. Taking finals. Really? This time of year? Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, the main event tomorrow, which is 7 to 9 p.m. There'll be an award ceremony, and then following that, there will be an after party at Zion. And I'm told it could go all night. Wait a minute. They're telling me it ends at 11:30. But bars are open until 4 a.m. around here. Again, I wish there were a little more people from out of town. They'd be like, what? 4 a.m. I don't think there are many places that have that, but make good decisions too. It gets weird past about midnight from here. So, but that being said, before we jump in and meet the panelists, we got a few thank yous to hand out here, starting with our sponsors. Tip of the cap to the Community Foundation of Central Illinois. Round of applause. Semantle, a terrific marketing agency. Give them a round of applause. I used to work there. Really, really great agency, honestly. It's just like Mad Men. Less cigarette smoke, and they respect and value women. But it's one of those mistimed jokes there, I guess. Zendev Signs and Graphics, thank you very much for your hand in this evening. David Vaughn Investments, masterminds of wealth management. They know where to invest their money, so that's got to tell you something that they're sponsoring this film festival. Am I right? Last one, Illinois Arts Council is the last sponsor. And of course, Distillery Labs. Thank you for hosting us tonight. Distillery Labs, the home of innovation and creativity. They've graciously provided this incredible space for us tonight. And I just talked to Doug. He said we don't even have to clean up afterward, which I thought was pretty nice. Now we're going to kick things off with something that's very close to every filmmaker's heart. Actually, it's very close to every person, honestly. It's failure. We've all failed. Raise your hand if you haven't failed, ever. Okay. No one in here is perfect. Good to know. Listen, failure, it's the thing that reminds us we're all human. No matter how good our IMDb page looks, right? We're all human, we all fail. And this discussion tonight is actually centered around innovation, of course, because it's home to Distillery Labs, but also failure. And they do something here, Executive Director Doug Crew, who I want to call up here to say a few words, but he started the Fail Club. They meet once a month. One of the biggest failures I know, this guy. He's amazing. And he's got a great story to tell, so if you want to come up here and say a few words here.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. I love being introduced as one of the greatest failures that you know, so take it as a compliment. Yeah, such a pleasure to have you all in this facility. I see many familiar faces, but even more new faces, new friends. And what we're trying to accomplish here at Distillery Labs is to be an ecosystem that is really diving into this radical inclusivity and how can we drive innovation, disruption, creativity, no matter what industry, no matter what stage of the journey you're on. Real quick about the building, we have 30,000 square foot that when we're at capacity, we'll have 7 different startups working out of here with wraparound services. So you walk in here with an idea, and then we're going to hold your hand and help you navigate the ecosystem to get to where you are. Now, being a startup founder myself for over 2 decades now, failure happens a lot. The highs are high, the lows are low, and then when you're in that trough of despair, you just don't feel like you can get back up. But if you have the passion and the drive, and you have a long-term vision of, you know what, maybe if I try something a little bit different, let's pivot, let's do this. And that's why when we look at an innovation hub and how we can create this culture and nurture this culture, it's really important we focus on some of those non-business things, but the more foundational things, so that we can really talk about the fear of failure. Like, what if as a culture in a community, we could dial down our fear of failure just 2%? What does that mean for those kids that are born this year if they grow up for the next 20, 25 years, and we have this culture where every month we celebrate failure? We think that quitting could be a superpower if you know how and when to do it. So whenever Blake told me that the topic was going to be based around failure, and that he may or may not, A, call me Tom, probably don't know him, but B, call me one of the greatest failures he knows, I'm like, awesome. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you all have to say. William and I were talking earlier before I came up, and it's the passion that drives you forward, and you can already tell just the vibe, the energy that's in this room. There is a lot of passion and a lot of drive. So for all the creatives and the doers and the dreamers out there, Distillery Labs is here to support you. Best of luck on your journey. And if there's anything we can do, quite literally, walk into our front door, and we want to help you on your journey. So thank you and best of luck.
Thanks a ton, Tom. What a guy. Great on the mic, great energy. Arguably, maybe he should have let off, let me come, kind of back clean up. But anyway, guys, here's the truth. Every filmmaker's had moments on set where things have gone off the rails. And that's what this panel discussion is centered around tonight. Maybe you shot a remarkable scene. It's the best scene you've shot ever. You love it. You nailed the acting, the lighting was great, everything was good. But the lens cap was on. You don't get to use it. Or maybe someone tripped over the cords and knocked the camera over, broke, and spilled coffee on your lead actor. Or perhaps the weather decided to wreak havoc on the one day you had to shoot the most pivotal scene in your movie. Those have all happened to me, okay? And it's on the filmmaker to come up with a solution, to see how they can get by that. And usually I found that's where the real magic happens. So we're gonna meet our panelists now. First here on my left, Risa Sanders-Weir. Risa is an Emmy-nominated filmmaker who's mastered the art. I'll say it again because it's worth saying. She's an Emmy-nominated filmmaker who's mastered the art of storytelling for MSNBC, National Geographic, A&E, and more. Her hit documentary on Sears at Montgomery Ward racked up over 1.2 million, that's million?
Yeah.
Million views on YouTube, proving she can make even retail history hits. And is director of production for Harlequin?
Well, I was.
Harlequin. As director of production of Carticum Films, she brought over 10 films to life, including 2 Oscar nominees. Everybody give it up one more time for Risa. Next up, we have William Jacobs. Will is the founder of Mourning Films and is a 16mm film aficionado. He's one of our region's most dedicated filmmakers. I know him personally, and every time I talk to him, he inspires me, truly. With a passion for working small and thinking big, he crafts stories that prove less is more. A graduate of Illinois Central College and Second City's improv program, William brings authentic artistry to every frame. Nobody takes film more seriously than this guy. Give it up for Will, everybody. And the last panelist, but certainly not the least, Gio Gallindo. Gio, originally from Mexico City, fell in love with filmmaking in high school and hasn't stopped since. With a dozen short films under his belt and experience as a camera operator on feature-length projects, Gio is now tackling his biggest challenge yet, writing his first feature-length script. His passion is as boundless as his talent, and he's also one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So talk to him if you get a chance tonight. Give it up for Gio, everybody. Okay, moving right along. I hope the pizza's settling in nicely in your stomach here. Risa, let's start with you. What's one of those moments when everything went spectacularly wrong on a project? What was the project, and how did you handle it?
Well, I want to start with some poetry.
Please.
My favorite piece, one of our nation's greatest poets, Donald Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense. And it is, there are known knowns, there are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns. And that's how, I'm a documentary filmmaker, so, some of our knowns are known, because who are you going to make the film about? Who's going to be involved? There are unknown unknowns. What's the weather going to be like that day? And then this story is about unknown unknowns. It's not strictly a filmmaking story, but it kind of is. I was working on an episode of Biography years ago. Those of you who are older might remember when it was on once a week on A&E, and then it branched out into its own channel on the cable universe. I was making a biography episode about, it was History Channel, a series called Wrath of God about natural disasters, and I was headed out to Montana to talk with some folks about these smoke jumper firefighters out in the forests of Montana. And my associate producer was headed out with me. We were flying into Spokane, Washington. It was December or January, and I told my associate producer, I said, if you get to the airport and I don't get there, get on the plane and go to Spokane. The crew is going to pick us up in Spokane, and then we're going to drive across Idaho and into Montana to interview people. And he looked at me and he was like, Risa, you just worry too much. And I was like, no, that's the producing art, is to have the darkest imagination possible of anything that could possibly go wrong. So, the morning of, I get on the CTA, I'm on the Blue Line, I'm at the Belmont stop, and the train comes into the station, and the train doesn't go anywhere. It's a snowy morning in Chicago. Train still didn't go anywhere. And then the announcement comes on, and I was like, I don't think this train's going anywhere. So myself and all my passengers, we go up onto the street, and there are like hundreds of us. And I'm like, this is before really robust cell phone, and certainly before Uber. And it's like, there's no way I'm gonna get a cab to the airport. And this brilliant, he was a businessman, but he should be a film producer. He says to me, you've got a suitcase. You must be going to O'Hare. And I said, I am. And he said, when the light turns red, we're gonna knock on the first cab we see, and we're gonna tell the person in it, hey, we'll get in with you and we'll pay for you wherever you're going. And then if we can get in. And then once you get to where you're going, the cab can take us to the airport. Well, lucky for us, when we did that, the person was on their way to the airport. So, I actually did make it. I did again, this is a very elderly reference, I did the O.J. Simpson running through the airport to you can still do that. And I made the plane, and my associate producer was already on the plane, which I was like, good job, you followed directions, you got on the plane. And it all worked out. But I think it was that sort of, it was a learning process for me that you always have to be like figuring out how to get around the obstacle. And this random stranger who is like, let's knock on the cab window. I'm sure we scared this person completely, but it really taught me a lesson about like, don't think there's one way to do something. Find another way to get it done.
Right. Yeah, I think adaptability has to be one of the most important things on set. Anything can go wrong. There's so many variables that you can't control. So if you had, what was your mindset? It sounds like you were positive from the start. Sometimes it takes other people a minute to get there. It can be very overwhelming and stressful. It sounds like you had really good mindset from the start.
I think you always have to think it's an adventure. I got a flat tire on Christmas Eve one night on the expressway, and we were changing the tire, and I was like, this is still kind of fun, right? This is going to be a great story.
Reese, you got great energy, Reese. Okay, give it up for Reese, everybody. Thank you. Okay, Willie, your turn. Give us the scoop. What's a time when filmmaking felt less like an art and more like an episode of Survivor? Just fighting for your life on set out there.
I think survivor is a great word, especially when you're shooting on film. So what you'll be seeing tonight is an excerpt of a feature film I'm currently in the process of filming entitled Poet in a Modern World. It's all shot on 16mm film. How many of you know what 16mm film is? Okay. I have some prompts here. So for those of you that didn't raise your hand, 16mm film comes in these spools. You can get it in 400 feet or you can get it in 100 feet. And 16mm film is half of 35mm film, which is the standard for shooting on film. Has been the standard for productions for a very long time. 16mm film is half the size, like I said, which means that productions are cheaper. And so a lot of low-budget films in the 20th century were shot on 16mm film. And just last year, 16mm film celebrated its 100-year anniversary. So yes, Kodak in the United States still makes film, and they're the only film manufacturer. Yes, please can hold that. They're the only film manufacturer in the United States right now. 16mm film looks like this. They come in daylight spools like this, and daylight spools are these spools that have these black walls that you can load it in daylight. But if you're loading it on a regular spool, you have to have one of these. Does anyone know what this is? Light bag. Yeah. So essentially, if you have to load a film magazine to put in your motion picture camera, you have to put your hands into this bag, and you cannot see anything that you're doing whatsoever. So you deliberately blind yourself. So you're having to feel the film with your hands, and you have to know where exactly the spool fits onto the spool holder of the magazine. So I'm making this project on film, and we began the proof of concept in 2021. We began filming. And we filmed on Main Street on one of these old homes. My friend was a Bradley University student at the time. He was the gaffer and grip on our film. And he was renting a room in one of these homes, so we decided to film in this upper floor in this old 1930s home. And it had a gable door. It was a very beautiful, peculiar atmosphere. So I wanted to film one of the scenes here. And production began. I had never shot a project in 16mm film before this proof of concept. So who knew? I had no idea what I was getting myself into. We filmed a couple of scenes. I go to change the magazine and unload, put my hands in the bag, the film magazine in the bag, and I'm unloading, and there's this thing called a core adapter. So a spool has an opening like this, and there's an adapter piece that fits inside that fits on the magazine, and you have to push that out after you take the spool off the magazine. Otherwise, you send that to the film lab. That belongs on the magazine. So you have to exert a lot of force on that adapter. And I pushed that out, and I pushed the plastic core holder that was holding all of the film out along with it. And what happened with the film? It coned. It coned on the inside. Exactly. So have you ever made ribbons and twisted ribbons before? So and you let go and the coil is furled. Well, it unfurled, and we had production, and there were still scenes to film, and my hands were trapped in this bag. I can't rip my hands out of the sleeves because light will leak in. So I spent an hour and a half slowly winding the film back onto the spool, and my back was cloaked with perspiration, and I was questioned by crew members, what's going on? Is everything okay? So I alerted my gaffer and grip what happened, and he, fortunately, because we were filming in his apartment, had another light bag. So what we ended up doing was running up to this room, and I had my hand in this light bag the whole time, and we go into this room, and we have to seal all of the cracks and crevices with gaffer's tape, because we couldn't have light leaking in. So we spent about half an hour sealing this entire room with gaffer's tape. Wow. And we make this transfer from one light bag to another, so I can use that light bag to load the film magazines. And we left the film, unfurled film, in that light bag. And I was so nervous afterwards. Eventually we were able to finish production that day, by the grace of God. And I alerted the lab about what happened, and they said, oh, that happens all the time. We accept unraveled film. And of course, I sent all my film to the oldest running laboratory in the United States called Cinelab in Boston, Massachusetts. And they've done a fantastic job with transferring film to digital, which is what you'll see tonight. So we had a success. I received the film back, and there was only about 50 foot of the film grazed. Because my fingers, film is very fragile, so any pressure, your fingernails scraping up against it will create light scratches and boot marks, anyhow. So we only had 50 feet compromised. There was one shot we couldn't use, but it made the film better, and I think connecting it to what we were talking, you two have been mentioning earlier about the unknown. There's so much we cannot see, and this is a perfect metaphor for filmmaking. There's so much you cannot see, but you have to have faith. You have to have faith in what you're doing, and you cannot rely on your own strength. And everything that happens while you're making a film, whether it's the mistakes, the failures, that is contributing to the story. Because there's two stories that are being told. The story that you're making, and the story of you making the film. And if we want to have films that are transformative for people, the filmmaker has to be transformed. And you have to humble yourself. You have to have faith. So that's my story. Thank you.
When I said nobody takes film more seriously than Will Jacobs, has anyone deliberately blinded themselves making a film before? I rest my case. Incredible stuff, man. All right, Gio, tough act to follow, no question. But what's been your biggest oh shit moment in production, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, I wasn't ready for that question, but I just have a general failure story. That's all right.
All right, that's fine too.
I'm like nervous for some reason. Y'all did too good. But here we go.
Can we get Gio a round of applause? You just got to talk through it, right, Tom?
Oh, okay, there we go. I made a short film called Cantina. Just means bar in Spanish. That was during a year where I challenged myself to make one short film a month for the whole year. And I made one that whole year. and that was it. And it's funny looking back, but it was very stressful. I felt like a failure at the time. I'm like an independent filmmaker, so like a lot of the times I'm just working with volunteers, people that I'm like, hey, I'll teach you how to use a sound recorder, but they've never done it before. Even the same thing with like actors. And I usually try to make short films so I can do it in like 1 or 2 days so that I'm not taking up people's time since we're all volunteering. So we wanted to make this film. It was just going to be a 2-day shoot. The only bar that we found, thankfully our cinematographer, who made a film that's shown tomorrow, his name's Bryce, great guy. I think that was like the first film he got to work on with me, which was pretty awesome because he does great work now. And he did great on the movie too, but we are all still learning progress. So he's from like a very small town called Manitou, and he was like, hey, I know the owner of this bar, he got us, we can use it. I was like, perfect. And it was like, from here it's like an hour or so away. So we all had to get up super early because we were gonna, start riding early, 7 a.m., knock it out in like 8 hours. And then we get there to learn that the bar was supposed to be unlocked and we could just like go in there and do our thing. And that was not the case. And then Brian's like, oh snap, like the guy's probably still sleeping, I don't want to wake him up. So I can't even remember exactly, but it was like 2 hours of just having to wait. So somebody who wasn't even the owner somehow came and opened it for us. So like right from the bat, we were like 2 hours behind. And like I said, it was like a lot of new people. So yeah, basically that day ended up being like 17 hours of just being there. And then we still had to drive like an hour home. And then to make it worse, we got stuck behind a train for like 20 minutes trying to make it home. So it felt like a 24-hour day. And we actually shot that in the winter, but part of the story that I thought was really important was like a flashback scene with the father and his kid, who was a girl. So we waited a couple months to just shoot that flashback scene. It should only take like 5 minutes. I just wanted them kind of to be out in nature. We knew someone that had like a farm, and they would just go. And I had like the worst allergic reaction I've ever had in my entire life. Like, it looked like I was sobbing. It was like snotting all over the place. I like went to the lady's house looking for some allergy medicine, and she didn't have any. It's fine. And so we still shot it though. I just couldn't see very well. And I was still very thankful. I edited the short film, but to me, like there was failures in the production part of it, and I think we're like our own worst critics. So to me, I finished the film, but I was like, I don't really love it. Like in my mind, I saw it a little bit differently, but I would like to honor everyone's time. So we ended up doing like a local screening for it, just at my local church that does use like their screens and stuff. And it was just cool because to me, I was like not really proud of it, to be honest. I was hoping it would be better. But after the screening, especially like the actors who were also like up and coming actors, like this was kind of their first short film. Like I could just see it in their eyes, like once like the film finished and I even did like a short Q&A with them. Like they thought it was amazing and they were just like really proud of the work we all put together as a team. And it's just been awesome to see like all those actors are now like working on film all the time, like they go to Chicago to film stuff. So I guess my little nugget of failure is sometimes even when we fail, like there's still great things that come out of it. And funnily enough, I randomly like watched that short film back and I was like, it's not even that bad. It was like pretty good. So,
may I have the stands?
Is that all for now?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get questions.
My name is Abby Anderson. I was the assistant director for How to Sell Your Soul. And that would be Joseph Ford as the director as well.
I'm David Bradburn. I'm the writer-director of Family.
I am Ryan Gould, and I did Teeth.
I'm William Jacobs, and I directed Vote in a Modern World.
We're gonna do People's Choice, vote for People's Choice Award. So fill out your piece of paper, and we're gonna have a couple volunteers come around picking those up. Yeah, do we have extra? Does everyone have one, or who needs one? Okay, there's some out there. We're going to be voting for your favorite film tonight. Does anyone have a question in the audience to start? Anyone want to lead us? Here we go. Oh, okay. Look at that. Oh. No questions? Okay, here we go.
I have a question for Jessica. Okay, what came first, your painting or the concept for the film? The painting came first?
That's a great question. Here, wait, you go ahead and elaborate.
Yeah, the oil painting came first. So I did that in 2014. That was quite a while ago. And then I always wanted to go into my art, like not just have a painting on the wall, as wonderful as that is. I always thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could step into my painting and be in that world? So I figured it out, and that's what I wanted to do. So.
What did you edit it?
What did I edit with?
Yeah.
Premiere Pro and Final Cut.
How long did the edit take? Sorry. I was
Well, you know what? The first time I made the film, I made it in a week. It was an assignment for school at ISU. And then I recently had to do a bunch of editing to it again. So the last shot you saw with me posing with my dress and I lined up with my painting, that shot, I had to do that probably 50 times to get my body lined up with the painting just right. That was the hardest edit to do.
I have a question for you.
How did you line up the shot? How did you light that shot? It was pretty striking.
I just had my lamp aimed up, or aimed straight at me, but it was just behind me right here. So it was just one light, and then I forgot what the other question I had.
Lined it up.
Oh.
You said you lined it up with the paint.
So I had to, okay, this was so complicated. But first I took the image of my painting, I had to layer it with a still from my film. So I would take a shot, and then I would take the still from my shot, where I'm posing all the way with my dress. And I had to make sure that it lined up with my body in the painting, so I layered it together on my iPad, and it was the most frustrating thing. So
Super tedious. That's amazing.
it took a couple days just to get that shot right. So
That's incredible. Another question here? Yeah, I love the enthusiasm. Look at it going. I love it. Another question from the crowd? Over here.
Hi, yes. I had a question for How to Sell Your Soul. Was that actual German chocolate cake, or was that just a prop that you guys found? Was that the actual, like, what inspired it, or did you guys just sew it in?
Yeah, so German chocolate cake, it was angel food and then German chocolate cake in the script, and we went out and bought a German chocolate cake because we knew that would reveal itself later. Just a little like extra insight for you guys in case you were wondering, this whole like Mephistophelian thing of this character is almost a play on like the devil and like having knowledge that Kelvin was just completely oblivious to. So it's cool how they bring it back. He brings it back.
Full circle. I
Full
love it.
circle.
I love that. Great question. Anyone else in the crowd? Let's go. Come on. Next question.
Hi, Ryan. I have a question for you. I'm not sure if you'll be able to actually tell us the answer, but I'm very curious where you got your inspiration for teeth, especially your cameo when you appeared.
Yeah. I guess it comes I don't know if I know the answer to that, first of all. Okay, actually, does anyone have an answer to that? This is about? Because I'd be curious to know. Okay, if no one has a guess, I think I would say the feeling of how scary it would be to like lose your last teeth as an adult is like how the host is trying really hard to keep his guests. And he's really scared when he realizes they're gonna leave, and it's not up to him.
I like that. It's like, it feels like a fever dream to me of like losing your teeth. That's like a big dream symbol, right?
Yeah, it feels like that. And then I guess to get to your second part about the cameo, I mean, honestly, it all started from that part. I wrote that part, I thought it was kind of funny, and so when Allison messaged me and said there was going to be a festival, I decided to make a whole short film about what happens around that moment.
Outstanding. You got another question? Gio, go ahead.
Sorry for that your name, but the Filmmaker Panel.
Kind of two questions. Is it kind of like a proof of concept and you have like a bigger idea for it? If not, that's fine. And just like there were some specific details like with the neighbor, like I don't know if this is like a personal story or it's completely fictional.
Sure. Not a proof of concept, it's a standalone piece. It's a retelling of a thing that happened between my brother and I, where he was being basically beat up by some kids after school, and I ran across the field to help.
Wow. You have asthma?
I do.
Very good. Okay, not your asthma, I mean. No, you're good. Okay, anyone else here in the crowd? I have a question for Will. Is it Seth who was in the acting, your friend? Who's the one that the taller one standing up in the... Wes. Is he here tonight, Wes?
Wes could not make it.
He could not come to support you. Okay. I'm gonna call like I see it. So when you're shooting on 16mm film, how many takes do you get? Because when I was in my acting prime a few years back, I would like to do a lot of takes. I would like to get the best take. I would say, let's do it again, let's do it again. You can't do that in your world.
You cannot. So you have to have a shooting ratio. So we followed a 4-to-1 shooting ratio, which means 4 takes for every shot. I'd like to go a little lower than that, 3-to-1, but worst case scenario, 4-to-1. But beyond that, we cannot.
If you nail a scene in 2 takes, do you have 2 that you get to move?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have more footage.
Cell phone minutes rolling over.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah, we'll continue running the camera, go for another take, and we'll try something different. We'll venture out on the safe side.
Have you ever, I have one more question for you because I'm fascinated with the film. Have you ever reached a point in a project where you weren't quite done telling your story, but you were out of film and Walgreens was closed and you couldn't get there to get more film?
Well, I wish that Walgreens sold Kodak film. That would be wonderful. But we've ran out of film before on a take, and you have to resort to the takes you're not too fond of. So I found a way to stitch those takes together. I had to add some digital elements. Yes, I know it's shot on film, but it's edited digitally. So I had the actor brush by the camera, and I spliced 2 takes together.
Genius.
Yeah.
Genius. That's innovative, guys. This is Distillery Labs we're talking about. All right. Any other questions in the crowd? Yeah, we got one here.
Yeah, you're faster than me.
So, in How to Sell Your Soul, was there a particular inspiration for going with that kind of cool, like 70s retro-y aesthetic?
Thank you for noticing that. It was set 60s, 70s roughly. My boyfriend, Joseph Ford, wrote and directed it, and he actually wrote that a while back in college, and kind of took him a while to find a piece that he was passionate enough to actually film. And we shot this back in February or March, and I don't know, I think think he's just creative. I don't know. I thought it worked really well though. He went, he put a lot of work into the costuming and the production design and such. So, yeah, good question. Thank you.
I noticed the SX70 Polaroid camera that was in the end in the birthday party. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah.
Look at that. Will Jake, everybody. This is his night. It's incredible. Anyone else? Any other questions from the crowd? Yeah, we got hands up. Speak up. Go ahead and yell.
I got one. This is for Will. Have you digitized your film? What's the color process? Do you just keep it as it is, or do you color it a little bit?
So I request DPX files, raw DPX files from the lab. It's scanned in 2K, and I take that into DaVinci Resolve, and I add nodes. I work with the levels first. There's really not much to do when it comes to color correcting. The beauty of film's aesthetic is that the colors are very rich. I actually had to desaturate because this film is more dramatic and I wanted less color in the images in some particular scenes, but it's very minimal and I don't wash out the colors with different layers of color correction. It's just tweaking the levels, getting the color balances right with the histogram. That's a talking shop here, probably people don't know what I'm talking about, but is that okay?
Outstanding. Well, that's going to conclude our Q&A here. I can't thank the panelists and the filmmakers enough. Everyone who came out tonight. This is just night one. Tomorrow, reminder of the Student Film Showcase at the Peoria Riverboat Museum, the largest film screen in the Film Society. What does John Morris say? Right here in Greater Peoria. Largest film screen in the Film Society. So tomorrow, that's 3 to 4:30. Get a dinner break, go to Kenny's, go to Sugar, go to Time. A lot of good places to eat downtown. Come back for the main event of the evening at 7 to 9 p.m. tomorrow night. Kind of good news, bad news there. So if you don't have a ticket, that's a bummer because we're sold out. But breaking news, there's going to be what we're calling a rush line. And that means you can basically go stand out in the cold outside and wait and hope someone with a ticket doesn't show up. And they'll let you come in. So even if you say that. You can stand inside. Okay, you can stand inside. So, but you got to go back outside if you don't get a ticket. So anyway, that's all for tonight. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.